Thank you. I want to plead with everyone who has been patient with us so far. We say thank you for your patience. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but this chat was going to happen whether or not technical difficulties existed. So welcome everyone to our page. For anyone who got a little discouraged and stepped away, this would be the time to get them back in front of their computers. So I'd give everyone a second or so to go ahead and invite their friends. And Sister Egbe, you're the most important person here today. I want to make sure your friends, family, and parties are on the call today. So let me just give them a second. Again, a lot of apologies for the mishap we had a few moments ago. Technical difficulties. We were not beyond that. So I'll just check the page for a few minutes to see who else is joining.
Yes, Mariela's doing that for me. I just gave her my phone. Yeah, it happens. It happens.
It has happened to me, obviously. So
And we
definitely.
just learn. That's how we learn. You do
Absolutely.
the next time it'll go smoother. The next time it'll be even smoother. Till
Okay.
finally you'll be a pro at it. So don't you worry.
Absolutely. So I couldn't, for those who are just joining, I want to say my apologies for our very late start. This is pretty unusual on my part. I was trying out a new technology, another system, and it obviously was not compatible with what we were doing. So I had to switch back to my old technology. But anyway, if you're just joining us, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your patience and thank you for being part of our show. I must say something before we start. This could not have happened to me with anybody else other than Sister Egbe. This is the right person to have had this kind of an issue because this is how you learn. This is how you see an example of someone who's patient with you, who guides you, and who is exactly who she's meant to be. So for that, I want to welcome Sister Egbe Mbiwan Monjimbo to our show today. Sister Egbe, any word, any hi to your followers? I know there's a lot of eager folks on the call right now wanting to talk to you.
Yes, I will just offer my apologies to circumstances way beyond our control. Technology is the way it is, but I'm glad to be here. I was going to sit here till midnight if it took that. So, Judith, I'm glad that you're having me on. I don't really quite still know what you have seen that you think I can share, that I can be of use. But I'm glad to be here. Anything for my little sis, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So
And
thank you so much.
I can't see them, but I'm assuming somebody's out there watching. So I say hello,
Absolutely.
and I hope they're having a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you, thank you. So, Sister Egbe, I'm glad you made that apology. But again, as I said earlier, this could not have happened without, if it wasn't with you. There's no other person that would have wanted to go through this error or this misstep or this technical difficulty if it wasn't you. Because no other person would have been as patient as you were. No other person would actually have helped guide me through it. So let's go ahead and get started today. I am Judith Fang, and the goal of me having these shows on Sundays at 1 p.m. is to ensure that we're bringing to you our influencers, our local community leaders, people who are impacting our lives in so many different ways, and to ensure that we're getting our community the right folks in front of them. We want to make sure that we can foster collaboration, we can encourage, we can coach, we can also make sure we make available the people in your space of life or area of interest available to you so you can have conversations with them. Our call for you after we're done with some of these conversations is to reach out to either the guest I had on the phone or reach out to me. In this case, we're talking to Sister Egbe, who's an educator, a teacher, a mom, a nurturer, a writer. Her gifts actually would stretch a mile if I had to list all of them. But our goal is actually to ensure that you can have access to these community leaders, these global leaders, these influencers, and make sure you are doing what your purpose in life is meant to be. So we'll go ahead and get started. Sister Egbe, usually I like to read on my guest biographies, but yours is so long. So I'm going to pick on some points that I think are critical for the audience to note on and talk to. We're going to be talking through the show about some of the other aspects that I may not say in your biography. But I want to first of all say Sister Egbe is not only a big sister to me or a friend, Sister Egbe is also my sister. I grew up with her as my older sister, but she's not an older sister. She's a friend. She's a friend I can run to and share some things with. She's a friend I actually look at who can be a mother, an aunt, a sister, and even the guidance, the coach, the counselor that we all need in life. So, Sister Egbe, you're actually my life coach, but you didn't realize that. I know on this call, I'm not the only one who shares that kind of a relationship with you. You grew up in Cameroon with the rest of us. You went to school back with us. Your mom actually was our principal and one of the biggest role models we had in our lives. She was also my mom's teacher and boss, and she means a lot to my mom and my parents. And again, I want to say the story I'm telling you is not my story alone. This is the story of almost every other person who has known you back in Cameroon or even in the US or all the areas you visited. You also did go to Seka Baptist College in Limbe. At the time, it was Victoria. So you did go to that school and you spent your secondary school years there, and you also went to Casbambali as your high school, and you further on went to the University of Yaoundé, which we is also our alma mater. You also attended. You're also a translator by degree and career. However, I don't think you've really worked in your lifetime as much as an interpreter or translator. You also are an educator, a teacher who, for the K to 12 sessions here in the United States, and you've worked with quite a few school districts. So again, as I said, those are your career activities, and those are the things that shape you into who you've become as a professional educator. However, the things that drew me to you as a person that I needed to speak with today is because you relate to quite a bunch of people in so many different ways. As a teacher, you relate to all the students that you come in contact with. As a mother, you've raised two beautiful kids, accomplished kids, which is very much envied by a lot of people because we struggle with some of our kids. You are a daughter to one of the greatest women I think most families back in our country would ever know. You're also a sister to some beautiful siblings, one of whom we lost in some tragic circumstances, and we will touch on that a little bit. You're also you make a part of your alumni groups and you participate in so many different ways. As a resident here with us in the North Carolina area, you also are a huge contributor to many of our charity groups, functions, and NGOs that support very many causes, whether it be a person that's been displaced from the disturbance or the fights that we have going on back in Cameroon, whether it be a person who has an ailment or cancerous issue that we don't know about, and you would donate, you would actually lead drives for that occasion. But the other thing that gets to me is your ability to write, your skills in your writing, your thought process when you put forth your writings. Those are the things that require me to bring you out to a community and show you for the person that you are and all the different multifaceted areas of your life that you do contribute. So it's no small feat for me, and I know that I'm not qualified in any way to speak to you. I take the right as a younger sister. That's why I have you on here today. But I do know that there are many others who would have wanted to talk to you. But I want to say welcome. And you may not have known it, but I've looked at you and admired you for years. And I wanted the world to see what a marvelous and outstanding big sister you have been. So welcome to the Silver Lining with Judith.
Thank
Thank you.
you very much. Such a glowing thing. I could quite hardly recognize the person you're describing, but I'm glad to be here.
It's absolutely you. So I know I've said a lot of things in your biography and I've touched on it. I actually skimmed through it because it was quite a bit. Do you think there's something in there that I missed out on that you think the world should know about you?
You pretty much covered it all. That's my life right there. I listened to the things, the different facets. And as you mentioned each thing, my mind would temporarily swing in that direction. And that's really who I am. I believe everybody was put on this planet for a purpose. There's nobody who's here for just nothing. So my idea is you find that purpose and you can be multifaceted. Like you said, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, I'm a neighbor. So you play all of those roles to the best of your ability because there's a reason. I don't believe in happenstance. I believe
Yes,
providence. There is a reason behind everything. And so my thing when I get up every morning, more and more with the funny times that are going on now, each morning when my eyes open, I'm saying, well, I'm still on this planet. I'm still here. There must be a reason why I'm still here. So let me ask God to open my eyes and let me see those reasons so that I can go ahead and fulfill the purpose for which He put me here. That's,
absolutely. Oh, I'm so happy you said that. So you brought up the COVID situation, the whole all what's happening in the world today. This is fairly new. And again, much of what's happening in the world is not really new per se, but it's happening in our time. And usually to have this many catastrophic things happen at the same time is usually like 100 years apart, right? So how have you been doing based on all of what's going on in the world today? And I mean the unrest that we have in this country, the things that are happening back home, and just the whole medical situation in the country. How have you and your family been managing it? And what are your thoughts around what's going on?
that is such a huge question. I could talk from now till the kingdom come. I don't think I would have actually covered it all. I am somebody who is kind of a creature of habit. I put my keys in the same spot, know how to take my purse from this spot, go to the car, get in it, drive, go to school, just follow the routine. So this couldn't have happened to somebody who like me and it not rattle because I first of all could not believe I'm not going to work, going to church, going to the same places. It was surreal for quite a bit. But I'm also somebody who says, if this is the deal I've been dealt, how do I cope with it? So when it came to school, that was crazy because the timetables changed. We're trying to figure out online classes. You get up in the morning and remember that even though you're still in your pajamas,
Mhm.
well, it's still school time. So time to get online and check on the your students. Then at home, I actually happened to have my children with me. They too had to work from home. So we had to draw boundaries and figure out, okay, now it's work time. So our rooms became our offices. There was once I came right out of my room singing away and dancing, and that's my poor daughter who's there on her call, and she's like, go, 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 go. I'm like, oops, sorry. It took us a while to realize, okay, from this time to this time, technically, this was Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools in my room. Over there was Bank of America, where
Mhm.
my daughter works, and the other room was Atrium Health, where my son works. And then at noon, we come for a break and go back in there and try to adjust. And then there's the worry, there's the fear. So you're scared, you're spraying things down, you're wiping tabletops,
Mhm.
we are drinking the ginger and the lemon and the whatever it is, and scared out of our wits. But as I've learned to do with every scary situation in my life, I'm grounded on my faith. That's how I function.
Absolutely.
You say a prayer and you leave it in God's hands. You do what you know to do. You do what the common sense thing is to do, what the science thing is to do,
Hmm.
and then you leave the rest to God because there is no set way. I think He has shown us more than be anything else that I have seen in my lifetime that you can't quite have the answers. They've called on the experts. They ask them, when is this going to end? They say, we don't know. When will it peak? We don't know. How is it spread? Today they say it's droplets and how long they can last on surfaces and all that kind of thing. The next day they say, no, it's not quite spread that way. Then they say kids won't get it. Then they say kids will get it. Then
Hmm.
only the older ones. So it's been that kind of thing. You have to stay grounded. I personally don't watch TV all that much anymore.
Hmm.
The figures scare me, and I know there's stuff going on out there that I can't quite fix. So I don't want to stay in panic mode. I want to be aware, but not stay in panic mode because that will scare the life out of you. So I try not to watch that much TV. I just pray more. I just try to focus and say somebody up there is in charge and he must know what he's doing. As
Absolutely.
far as um, the social things we have all had the whole George Floyd thing happen, that shook me to my core. I've always known there's stuff like that happening, but that really shook me to happening around this time, which actually caused me to. I've always talked to I have a black son right here, so I could not, as a mother, help looking at it and imagining what if that had been my child. So there's been a lot going on, and then we have the usual deaths happening. You cannot, as before, you drive over there, you fly over there and hug the person who's grieving, who's hurting. These days we can't. So we are reduced to Zoom funerals, Zoom birthday parties. We're just zooming our lives out. That's what's
Correct.
happening. But if you,
Absolutely.
mhm,
Thank you so much, Egbe. That's a lot for someone who has been pretty active in the school career with the teachers and with the writing. So, Sister Egbe, there's a lot of things that, uh, in life, as people who've been transplanted from Africa to here, we had most of our education back home, and we are here now having to adapt to all of this different culture. I know they say in life, you learn a language by associating with the people.
right.
So I need to get your perspective as to when I say reading, the importance of reading, what
Mhm.
does that mean to you? A mom, what does that mean to you, the teacher? What does that mean to you as a citizen? And what does that mean to you as someone who's living today in our times? The importance of reading.
Will not possibly be overemphasized. There's no way to overemphasize that particular thing of reading. I tell you, and I was blessed to grow up with two parents who made that a priority. My mother actually had a carpenter make a bookcase, huge bookcase with glass doors. I still see it in my mind's eye, where she lined up those books. We read them. The fairy tales, Aesop's fables, Nancy Drew mysteries, a wide range. And trust me, that has influenced me. I'm able to actually put two sentences together and write something that, with the help of spell check, makes sense to somebody because of that upbringing. So I have done the same. Nursery rhymes upstairs in this house where we're sitting. There's just today, my daughter was ordering two more bookshelves because we moved not too long ago to this place, and then we're still trying to put those books up on there on the shelves. And I tell them, you need to read. It is a little tricky these days because now nobody wants to really flip the pages of a book. We get recordings that we listen to, podcasts, we do. I still am the old-fashioned. I need to turn the page, the leaf of the page. I still give people the eye in church when they are, this Bible, the pastor says, the reading is from so and so, and they
Mhm.
have their cell phones out. I can't do it. I need to have the book, the leather-bound book, and flip the pages. But for me, it's a matter of just read. I don't care how you do it, the hard book, the Kindle, whatever it is. That is how you expand your horizons. We grew up in Cameroon, like you say.
Mhm.
When we came here, we actually saw the realities and they were a little different. But we all were transported into those worlds when we read. You read
Mhm.
Thomas Hardy, you read Shakespeare, you
Yes.
read, I haven't ever, I mean, I didn't go to Nigeria till maybe 2012, but I had an idea about what the Igbo culture was like, what the Yoruba
Exactly.
was like, because I read Wole Soyinka, I read Chinua Achebe, I read the other greats. So I'm sure people will be surprised when I teach my kids and I talk about places in Canada that they haven't heard about. I talk about Australia and New Zealand. That was taught to us in secondary school. They are amazed at the breadth
Depth.
and
Yeah.
how wide the horizons are.
Mhm.
And you get that from reading. You see somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I'll mention one book that I had to reread once I got to this country, but we had read. It was on the syllabus in Cameroon, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mhm.
Read it, enjoyed it. Now here I am actually living in the South. And there's so much that I missed reading it there from the Cameroonian point of view and
Right.
coming and understanding it much better. But I wouldn't have had that perspective if I hadn't read the book before. Magazines, I read them. I read novels. I read anything I can actually lay my hands on. It's amazing how that would broaden your, it's information that you need. And I would do it broadly. I don't read only the things I kind of like. I
Yes.
read the things that I don't quite care for,
Mm-hmm.
and see whether what makes that person tick. What, because you're surprised at somebody's point of view, but you should look at it and try to examine it and see where are they coming from. You read the biography of the author. Sometimes that helps you understand. Oh, they were looking at this thing from this perspective. So I don't like to be little one track. I have my mind, I have my priorities, I have my principles, and I have my things, but I don't mind seeing somebody else's point of view and making a balanced judgment of the thing, or at least making up my mind based on the facts.
Absolutely. So I asked that question intentionally because I knew you were going to take everybody into your mind. So that's segue for me to ask you. Usually, when people write, because you have a very, very elaborate way of writing, and it sort of gives people an insight into your mind, or actually, I don't think it gives us any kind of insight into your mind. It lets us know that there's a lot more stuff from where those writings are coming from. So most people who are great writers, most people who are, I would say, authors, usually start writing because of incidents in their lives, or a story, a backstory, or some tragic or some traumatic experience. It could be either or. Do you have a story as to why you started writing, and why is it so important that you write the way you write?
I don't know that there's any one thing I can point to that got me writing. It's pretty much what I write is pretty much what I think. I walk around and the thoughts cross my mind. I see something, it triggers something in my mind, and it goes in a whole direction, which is why I end up writing. And my sister says, "Boy, that thing was long." It's because I'm writing what I'm thinking. As I think it, I write it. I find something funny, I just keep going. Usually, I have to go back and say, "Okay, well, you really have digressed from the thing you started saying," because that's how my mind functions. But you see, if you've lived a life like the one I've lived in so many places, met so many different people,
Mhm.
all of those little things along the way have influenced the way you think, what
Yes.
happens to you. Just the idea of two different cultures. Okay, to start with, I am what I call a cultural métis. My mother was Bakuri, my father was Bayangi. So that
Mhm.
already is two worlds.
Mhm.
Then we moved to Yaoundé and grew up there. And so you find a different group of people that you get to know there. Then you go to, okay, primary school and meet different people. Then you go to boarding school and you live in the same dormitory with people, or for many more months in a year than you live with your own parents. So you see different kinds of personalities, different kinds of qualities. All of that stuff is part of who you are. I carry that with me. And it's amazing how some parts relate to certain people.
Mhm.
But sometimes I write something and I have to kind of explain or put it in quotes.
Yes.
The words I would use are the words that actually make a lot of sense to somebody who grew up in a certain era.
Exactly.
And then I have to explain to my kids, okay, here's what this means. Here's what this particular word means, because it's not something that they're used to. As time has gone on, they've picked up on it too. So there's no one specific thing as
Mhm.
much as it is my life, or even when I write about events that take place now, I still see them through that lens. I'll take an example of something I wrote not too long ago that
Right.
really came from my heart when George Floyd passed away, and I'm looking at my own son that I have here, and that struck. So that kind of a thing, that incident happened, that triggered and made me write that thing.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
yes, but the other little things that happen, and then you see them, and they make you want to say what you think, how you just perceive the same incident, and but the empathy or the sympathy or the compassion I have comes from the upbringing I also had. I had a mother who just cared. She's the kind of person who throw on a bathrobe and say she's going across the street. The couple across the street, there seems to be some domestic disturbance. And
Right.
my dad was like, "Where do you think you're going?" He says, "But no, we can't just sit here and that's happening." She was that kind of person who, when something happens, the automatic thing is, "So what can we do about it? How can we make it better? How can we
Absolutely.
fix it?" And that really is something that makes me sit here and sometimes just pull out my hair, because you cannot do everything, you cannot fix everything. But that's what life is, what I write about. my
That's
experience.
beautiful. That is beautiful. I read the writing about your son, and I have a 5-year-old, and it just occurred to me that although we all had a lot of compassion, although we all may have felt some anger in what happened, although we don't understand what could possibly get a human being to do that to another human being, I don't think I could have put it in the perspective that you put it, which means you made us think about all the little errands we take for granted, which was the same scenario as the gentleman who died, right? So just your son being able to go out in the night to go pick up his dad from the airport, that poses a sleepless night for you. So those are some things that we all do feel, but it makes it even more poignant when we read what you write about the happenings in your life. So you mentioned something, and I want to go back, I want to touch on that a little bit. You mentioned knowing about different cultures, being able to write, being able to read and understand other people's perspective. As an African, we do struggle with accepting people when they are different from each other. Someone who brings up an idea that is totally different from the norm that they're used to, because we come from a very structured society, right? And we have some social standards that have to be met, social thoughts and theories that we live through. How do you blend all of that as a teacher, as an educator, as a big sister, as a person who was also transported out of that environment to where we are today? How do you blend that in your everyday life? And how do you get your kids, especially African American kids and our African kids, to understand the beauty of their diversity, which you mentioned also, and be able to create some kind of a balance in all of that? How do you go about that process?
That is just, I like the way you put it about the beauty. Because you see, for me, I think it's a privilege. They get to enjoy the best of both worlds. Each one has its issues. This is not paradise either. We know it. Cameroon isn't paradise, far from it. But there are good things there and there are good things here. There are bad things here and there are bad things there. So you look at it and you pick from both and be able to put them together. For example, it was a culture shock for me here too. I mean, when I got here, certain things I had to just tell them, no, we don't do that. They knew it. They knew that we don't do that kind of a thing. For example, the neighbors we had said, they came home and told me that their friend's grandma had said they could call her Rose. And I said, over my dead body, that's not going to happen. They said, but she told us it's okay to call her Rose. And I said, if you call her that, you will meet your maker faster
Yeah,
than you thought. You do not call anybody that's an adult by their first name.
correct.
You call them Miss something, Auntie something, that's the thing. I don't see what's wrong with that. I mean, because it also helps to build instinctively, subconsciously, the respect. There's certain things that are in our culture that are there that kind of automatically get you the even without it is subtle. For example, when a judge enters a courthouse and they say all rise, it's now hard for you to see after the judge has said all rise for you to now give him the finger after that, because you see he has established who is boss in that particular setting.
Right.
That's another thing that people have to navigate here. Back in Cameroon, you didn't dare open your mouth. You didn't even want to look like you were thinking something.
Mm-hmm.
But a conk or a slap or whatever it is, or the mulongo as they say.
Right.
Here, it's a much more laid back kind of atmosphere. But you have to find a way to still put the discipline, still put the boundaries, even as you raise your kids. Because I'm saying, if you don't do that, and if you don't do that early enough, boy, you are going to have a struggle when they get older and they get rebellious, which is what they do. And when I got to teaching here, when I first began, oh my goodness, it was such a shock. Because back home, you're a teacher. Oh my goodness, bonjour, madame. The whole thing, madame. They're very respectful. You really just need to come, show up, and just teach a lesson. Here, there's a whole thing we call classroom management that you must have down pat.
Mm-hmm.
Teach the most brilliant lesson on the planet. Because you have kids jumping back and forth, showing you the wrong finger, calling you out of your name, all of them in the same class with the one who's laid back, who's even an introvert, all in the same room, and you're supposed to teach each one of them because they're all there looking up to you to teach them. So certain things you try to tell them, and I've actually have gone past the only teaching the academics.
Exactly.
I tell you seriously, if it was only the academics, I would not still be in that job. I'm very much more for the nurturing, for the what's going on with this particular kid. I had learned a
Yes.
long time ago not to see them as somebody whose name you just check off the name for attendance. Because if
Yes.
you keep sitting there in your room, who is dozing off? It's not because look, the kid went to bed, I don't know at what time in the night. He's playing babysitter for his younger sisters. He's cooking, he's cleaning, he's having issues with his stepmother or his stepfather. A lot is going on in their lives. So I've learned not to look at it that rigidly. I've learned that
Absolutely.
there's a lot that goes into it. And for me, it's pick the best of both worlds. Some of our traditions are just awesome. I tell them, I said, you see why we don't, it may not be very scientific what I'm about to say, but I am thoroughly convinced that the reason we don't go jump off as many bridges and things, when we have grief and sorrow, we talk
Yes.
about
That's
it.
true. That's true.
Somebody comes by, I know there's the coronavirus thing happened, but somebody comes by and visits and hugs you. We cry, we wail when somebody passes, as opposed to just smile and say everything's good. When it is not good because the stuff that's happening inside of you that you don't have anybody to tell. So I tell them, you live in a place where you get on the elevator and you should just nod. Somebody says, how are you doing? The answer is always, I'm doing great, even if you're dying inside. So I tell them, no, you don't have to follow that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have your brother, you have your auntie, you have your sister, you can talk to them. So there's good things, there's bad things, you just have to do a blend. And for me, I consider it a huge blessing to be able to have those worlds, both worlds.
So, if you're just joining us, I'm pretty sure you have captured the reason why she is my preferred person on the show today. Not only is she a nurturer, she identifies skills, she cares, she's compassionate. She's my older sister, she's a teacher, she's someone's junior sister, but she's still my older sister. Sister Egbe, you've said two things here that have been very, very critical for me. I want to ask you another question, and this is around back home in Africa. Again, I know times are changing and the younger ones are totally different in their ways that they think nowadays, anyway, because it's a global world we live in, and thanks to the smartphones, phones, and technology. What I need to find out from you is with the education, you did say that you don't only teach academics, you do nurture, you do find out what's going on with the kids. The other question I have is really around what the academics entails, finding out what kids really are all about, in the sense that, when we come from back home, when you're growing up, every kid, you ask a kid what they want to be. They'll tell you, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a teacher, because it's usually the teachers they admire the most.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe that teachers are the biggest heroes on the planet, right after nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are the people who shape your minds. And there's a saying that if you have two bad teachers 2 years in a row, you are messed up for good. So the effects of one teacher in a particular person's life could be the difference between that person's success in life and another. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, how do you teach and or educate or approach your students and friends about not necessarily focusing only on the academics? Everybody cannot be in the academia. We need business people, we need market people. Everybody can do the same job. How are we approaching, or how are you approaching the aspect of children being different? Different from the norm, meaning they're not following the traditional path. Children being different in their thought process. You know how in Cameroon they say you can't afford to have a band boy in the family because they don't understand music. I had my nephew on here first week just to promote his artist brand management. So I want to take it from the perspective of a teacher, you who's been in the business both here and in Cameroon, and in many other arenas, because you do talk to quite a few people. How are you approaching, and what's your perspective on how we can educate our children to be a lot more rounded and explore other options other than what we are all used to.
That is a very important thing that really strikes home with me, because you see, remember I started off saying everybody is born with a purpose, something that they're supposed to fulfill. And we really cannot all then be what you said, only a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is, those professions that you meet there. And I would tell you honestly, it tended to be in Cameroon that the grammar school was what you're supposed to go to. So one
Yes.
went to Ombe. So, ooh, this one went to so and so school, the technical thing. It was made to look as if it was not quite that important. And I think that was a mistake, because what would we do without skilled professionals in the other fields? You do need, and it's also the idea, I think society helps to paint a picture that sometimes does that to us. Like here, over here now, the kids are all wanting to go to the NFL, to the NBA, and be certain things, or be on a rapper. Nothing wrong with those professions, and it's good. But is that really what you are called to do? Is that really what you are comfortable doing? Because for me, it's like if you insist on one or the other, trying to be a musician when you're not, that's not what you're called to be, or trying to be a lawyer when that's not quite your thing, even if you succeed in doing it and making a paycheck and doing it kind of efficiently, for me, the gratification that you get from doing what you really are supposed to be doing, what you really have been programmed, fashioned by the higher power, the Almighty, by God to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you see somebody who is doing that, it shows they are happy doing it.
Yes.
They are doing it so very well. Oh, it's just like you're taking, I don't know what, a blow dryer and saying asking it to cool your water. It's not a fridge. The fridge is meant to do what it's doing. It's pouring away there and keeping your food cold. Then there's the car. You get in it and it drives it to where you're supposed to be going. Trying to make a car do something that's not supposed to do is the most painful thing you can imagine, because it stifles something inside that child. Which is why when I first got to Charlotte, my first assignment was teaching at Northwest School of the Arts.
Mm-hmm.
That helped to just reinforce that even more. You see a kid who, okay, I was teaching French. So they come to the classroom there and they're struggling away there. But then what I used to do, which opened my eyes, was come back to school afterwards or stay on afterwards to watch them now in their recital. And that kid is playing the piano and you're looking at and going, wow. So he might have been performing well in this conjugaison we're trying to teach him,
Mm-hmm.
but boy, is he an awesome piano player. This one is good with acting. This one is good with cooking. Culinary skills are out of this world. He just doesn't necessarily understand what physics is all about. And I take myself as an example. I am so glad that by, I think it was Form 3 or 4, you got to choose whether you're doing the arts or the science, because if it had not been for that, I would be sitting at age 55 in a secondary school even now, trying to pass math.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get it. And it's just not my thing. And I say to myself, well, I needed to know enough arithmetic and enough math to just know what change I'm supposed to get at the store. But I don't need it that much to actually go build any bridges or design any. I'm not an engineer. Let the engineer do what it is they're supposed to do. I'll do what I can do, and it's all good. Everybody is useful. So I tell the kids, you should not, and here, you know it, you've gone to school here too. They don't only want, you know how mentality is, you send your child to school, they need to make A's. So when the GCE comes out, 10 papers. When the O-levels, when the A-levels come out, 5 papers, advance this, advance that, and advance this and so. Here you know how it works. That's good. But to get into colleges, like you know, that is not all the good colleges are looking for. They want to also find out, what do you do on your own time as an individual to make sure that you're well-rounded? Do you volunteer over the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
In the old retirement home, go help them run their errands and do those kinds of things? Do you go? And that's something which I was glad when my kids were now, back when they were in starting secondary school. That's how come I moved from the school where I was teaching to the actual school that they were going to go to. And I went and told their teachers and the guidance counselors. I said, I didn't go to school here. And my worry is they may slip through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing these kids right here. I hope and expect of you to help guide them what they should do. So I was like, okay. Then they said, Manuela came and said, color guard. I'm like, what is that? You do this twirling thing and stuff before the game starts. I'm like, oh, by all means, go join it. Judge came and said, sports medicine thing, there's a little team, they sit there by the sidelines. When a player is injured, you go to something. That is now what helped to fill their resume when they're getting ready to go to college. They look at the kid and say, okay, they have a great GPA, but they also are this kind of person who cares to go on the weekends and help out, do blood drives, do all those kinds of things. And that's something which sometimes we African parents miss, because we're all about they need to make A's in biology, physics, maths, applied, something else, and all the other things, which is good, but which there's this other side of them too. And they needn't be lawyers, doctors, and whatever it is. And I'm glad I'm seeing that now. We have caterers.
Right.
There are people who have gone ahead and done, they have degrees, high-level degrees, but what they actually make them living from is catering.
You touched on the most important topic that is so dear to me, which is our financial well-being, and it's also how we deal with each other as a community. You said something that's pretty key, and the Jewish people do practice that in their community. You have Jewish people who may be caterers, and you have others who may be, I would say, contractors, building contractors, right? And there's a day on. Exactly. So I think there was a situation once where someone asked a Jewish man why he doesn't cut his own grass, because we're all used to them as people who are pretty smart with money, and they'll do everything to save money and do everything to make money. So grass, which is something like your lawn landscaping, it's something which is pretty easy and they can save money on that. And the response from the Jewish person back to the person was, I focus on doing building constructions so that I can pay someone else to do my landscaping. That is the fundamental basics on how every community can thrive, when you're able to identify each other's gifts and then let them be excellent at it, and you pay for their rightful services, and then you go on with your own life in what you're doing. If you're just joining us, or if you're on the call, you all now are getting the idea of why Sister Egbe is the first person who would have come on here as a female, as a role model, as a life coach. If you need any help, if you are not able to access Sister Egbe for herself because you don't have access to her, please reach out to anyone who can be a good educator, teacher, mentor, life coach for you. Sister Egbe, we still have some fun stuff to talk about, because there's a few other things outside of the seriousness of this conversation that I'd like to address. However, if someone needed some advice from you, someone needed some help from you, where can they contact you? I know you do run the Sacred Pride. Is there something or some email they can reach out to you on?
I guess the Sacred Pride thing, which I ended up being, some people refer to me now as a blogger, and I'm going, well, that is not what I set out to be. But then that's the easiest place. If you just went to, if they're on Facebook, right is the thing. And then I really hate to refer to myself as an expert, because I don't have training in all of these things. For me, it's just life lessons that I've learned. So Sacred Pride is at Facebook, and I have the website as well, which started off for me as a way to actually showcase and just highlight and acknowledge people we have had in our past, in our own country or in our own settings, who have done amazing things and who just get passed by. Because here everybody's talking, I cannot imagine that we learned about Ferdinand Magellan, Mungo Park, all those people, no offense to them, or that we're talking about Martin Luther King and all of these people. When they ask our kids to write an essay about somebody great, they don't think about their own grandpa first. They don't think about their own people that have actually done amazing things in their own context. They think only about the people in the books that they have read about. So that's how it started, highlighting people so people even know that before they came along or their parents came along, there are some awesome Cameroonians and awesome Africans who actually paved the way for them. And I'm going to seize the opportunity right this minute, because we just lost two amazing women this past Thursday.
Yes, I was going to get to that.
Female doctor,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Gladys Martin, and the first cabinet minister, Madame Delphine Changa, both of whom I was privileged to at least know, one better than the other. But it hurts me sometimes when I think that there are people now who are doctors now who don't understand who was there before them, on whose shoulders they stand, who paved the way. Because those pioneers who did not have anybody they could look up to and say, okay, there's another doctor I could emulate. These ones were just doing it for the very first time from scratch, and they did an amazing job. That was where I started that part of the Seeker Pride thing, writing about those missionaries who came and labored so hard to give us a future, and then other people who were just as pioneers when Cameroon was just being birthed, the whole concept was being birthed, all the toil. I did want them to hear before they get the well done, good and faithful servant, when they get to see Jesus. I wanted them to hear it here on this side of the Jordan, that we are grateful for the work that they have done. We appreciate what they have done to pave the way for us.
That is beautiful. Thank you for the honor. Madame Delphine Changa, as we all know her, we did respect her quite a bit. I knew of Dr. Martin, Dr. Gladys Martin, but I didn't know her personally. That was a real pioneer in her space as well. So we really owe much of who we are today to many women like this, because they are the ones who paved the way. They fought hard. They went above all odds to become themselves, so we knew we could dream even bigger than they did. So the other thing that I wanted to make sure that I touch on today, I know I've talked on some serious issues, and Sister Egbe, you're not a one-time guest. You are like that gift that we keep on giving, because it's kind of hard to stay on track with you on one thing, because the sphere of conversation that we can cover is so vast and so wide. But I want to touch on some fun stuff now, and we'll come back. We'll take some questions from the audience. So anyone who's watching us, please go ahead and you can reach out to Sister Egbe on her Seeker Pride platform. She also has Seeker Pride on Facebook. And if you need access to her as well as myself, I can be reached on Facebook as well. It's Silverlining with Judith, and it's also Mbong Forsi. I am being Afrocentric, so I'm dropping any names that are not from my cultural background. So, but my last name is still a cultural background. Sister Egbe, I know there's quite a few of your followers on this call, so I don't want to go about not recognizing them. We've had quite a few comments from people. I may not be able to call everyone's name, but I want to see if I can catch some answers, catch some questions. Someone, I think in an earlier post, mentioned if you could write a book called The Good Foot. I think that was Maflo Fomuso, and we're probably going to get a response back to her. I think the question has escaped me from the site, so I would go ahead and make sure we get her an answer to her question. But the one thing I wanted to make sure that I brought and I told the people watching is this platform is a platform that's for influencers. And when I say influencers, I'm not talking about the people who are setting up there in Hollywood or the people who are in Silicon Valley. I'm talking about the influencers, the leaders, the local community leaders amongst you, people who are making such a huge impact in other people's lives, people who are making a difference in other people's lives, people who have influenced so many people along the way and so totally unaware of it. I want to make sure I'm bringing those people to you. I also want to ensure that as a community and as a continent of people, we are building the collaboration, fostering the kind of networking that we do need and deserve to showcase the people that we've been for a long time. I am no expert at what I'm doing. I absolutely seek help from people who are better at it than I am. And right before the call, we had some technical issues for which I sincerely apologize. I had to call one of my other experts, someone who is a lot better at it than I am, and she literally gave me a quick fix and a workaround. And here we are talking. This is what collaboration and networking does. Because if I had to sit here and try to figure it out by myself, I would never have made it. No amount of education, no amount of expertise that I thought I had would have helped me out. So as a community, I plead with us that we reach out to our community members who are doing great things, because together we do even bigger things. And Sister Egbe was the right place for me to start because she's not only representing my older sister, she's representing my friend, she's representing my children because she does educate them. She's representing my coach because she does guide you in ways you can think. She also represents humanity because she shows you how much of a well-balanced human being she is, where she's lacking, where she's not lacking, what she's open to, and how much driven she is, no matter the age.
Mhm.
And Sister Egbe, I got to tell you, for a 50-something-year-old woman, you sure maintain that baby face. I don't
Ah,
know what you're doing, but your baby face stuck.
Vaseline. That's what I.
Are you serious? I've heard about that. Is it really true?
I guess it is. You see, I guess genetics. I don't know what to put it on, but I just my daughter, she has the thing. Let's get the. I think should say cleanser, um,
The whole protocol.
ex exfoliate. So I just don't do any of that stuff. She has tried. She'll get the whole basket. We'll go to the places and I'll come and I'll try it for a day or two. It just takes too long to do any of that stuff. So
Sister Egbe, I have to interrupt you here for a second. They're telling you you have to start writing a book, or book suggestions for you would be portraits of Cameroon. Let me see. My screen is messing me up a little. Portraits of Cameroon women of distinction. That is so beautiful. Thank you, Quinta. That's a beautiful suggestion. Let me make sure I can read through some of this because Sister Egbe Mbiwan is a star right from her conception. Spotted her a long time ago. She's an all-in-one, wonderful daughter, wife, mother, sister, friend, and a great educator. This is some big English here. Educator cum. Great writer. She has excelled in all her endeavors with God first above every success story. She's a great role model to many. Congrats, Egbe. So I'm not, like I told you earlier, I think I just jumped the gun and did what little sisters do for tea so I could come and take this place. Forgive me, sisters, if I don't get to all of your questions. I will make sure I bring her on again at a later date when we would have had all of your feedback, all of your suggestions, and she'll dedicate all of that time for those questions we cannot get to today. And Mafloy, yes, I do realize Vaseline is the trick, and I'm going to start using it. So, Sister Egbe, you're following. Let me throw a word out. I know I was going to throw something else out to you, but I changed my mind. When you hear the word, oh, when you hear me say Seca Baptist College, what does that mean to you? Tell me how you feel and just talk about it.
I would say that is because you notice that when you that's a school that was from from 1 to 5. Those are the formative years in your life,
Mhm.
and that taught me so much. I learned so very much from those 5 years. I cannot even begin to know where to start, where to end. But people see me write about Seika, talk about Seika Pride, and some people assume it must have just been a wonderful time I had there 24/7. Oh, I can tell you, I went there for one term, September of 76, went home in December for Christmas break, begged. I begged my parents not to send me back. I said, cannot cope. I reminded them how I did get admission into College Bilang. Can I just
Mhm.
go there? And God bless them. They realized that the more I asked to not go there, maybe the more I needed what the training that I got there. There's certain things that nobody ever learns much from something that is just easy for them to do, where they are comfortable and there are no challenges. I mean, I got there and I had never seen what we call a tap, a faucet, that you turned and no water came out of it. So I'm there with this bucket thinking, okay, maybe it's just taking a while. They're like, no, dear, get the bucket, go on down to this, go get water from them. Like, are you for real? But that's the kind of thing I would never have known about. And we were there from so many different walks of life. Some of the things that happened there, I did not appreciate at all at the time. I did not find them funny at the time at all. But in hindsight, that's why now when you come tell me school is going to start at 7:15, is that a problem? No, we were used to getting up at 5, the bells ringing, we jump up. And even just the idea of consequences. because you could end up having a horrible day
Mm.
because of the beginning of the day. You got to the bathroom late, so you didn't get a chance to find a spot to take a little shower, which the shower was really like you just got a cup and got the water out of the bucket and used. So you get back to your dormitory late. They write your name for leaving the dormitory late. You get to your workstation late. You get in trouble there too. You go to the line for inspection, and you get in trouble there because you did not get a chance, you did not finish on time and wash the plantain gum or the vegetable thing off your hands. So you can end up, it will spiral that way. You would learn the next time to take care of things before they spiral, and learn to do your little tasks, which we now do as a reflex. And it came from there. So you learned from the teachers, you learned from your peers, you learned even the common respect they told people to call. That's why you've been calling me Sister Egbe the entire time.
Yes, I cannot do otherwise.
Yes. There are people, it was a matter of just 2 years difference and you called them sister. It helped to pave the way for showing somebody respect that's older than you. There are people I work with now who are maybe even 10 years older than me. And because I met them now as colleagues, we just call them Jane, Mary, and whatever it is. But I wouldn't dare do that for people that I went to secondary school with, because I just know them in that kind of manner. In fact, I had to learn to call my own sisters and put sister, even now, because we didn't grow up at home. So Didi, a Bob. But then when you see somebody who is already 5 years older than you, calling that person Sister Bob, I don't dare do that to them. I say sister too. So there's certain things that were ingrained there that I cannot thank God enough. Now my daughter says, when I say, but hey, why can't, let's just manage and do this, that word manage. Why don't we just manage this and so thing? She actually has learned to quip back now and tell me, I didn't go to Seka, I don't know how to manage. You see the things we learned there. Get that needle and thread. You see a beautiful dress in the store. It's discounted 70%. Why? The hem is loose, or a button is off. So now I rush and get it because I know I can come home and get my needle and thread, hem it myself.
Right.
Button back on. Those are skills I learned partly in my home, partly from Seka. Get up and have a problem with a bed that is not made. I tell you, it's a pet peeve.
Yes.
I get out of it, even if I plan on coming back not too long afterwards to just, because it's a relaxed day on Saturday morning, I just start to make it. That's a reflex from Seka.
That's amazing. So that's amazing, because what you're saying is we're doing it as reflexes now, but it's in the line of repetition, because you've done that for so long, it's become your habit. And you know what they say is, if you're going to stay there 5 years, they say a habit is formed if you do it how many times? Is it the 6, 7 times? And then to break the habit is 32 times. You have to not do that thing. So it's the math of how you have to repeat this task on a daily basis. It becomes who you are. As a matter of fact, in one of the graduation ceremonies that happened here a couple of years ago, there was a Marine lead who said, if there's any one task, a motivational speaker, they said, if there's any one task that you have to do every day, is to make up your bed every morning, because that would mean you would have accomplished one task. And when you accomplish one task, you will accomplish again another and another and another, and before you know it, it becomes you.
That's right.
So that's one of the habits that I try to teach my kids. I mean, when we were struggling when they were younger, my daughter struggled with it. She just didn't understand why I would bug her, and now she has to tell me to make up my bed, because she can't deal with the fact that my bed is not made up. So it's one of the benefits of going to a structured school environment. So I went to the sister school, the younger sister of your school, because Seka was actually created or formed before the Lord's, and we're just as much. We're rivals, but not rivals. We're rivals, and just in the sense that we're another girls' school, but we make a part of the Ivy League schools in Cameroon, as from what they say. But what's most important is not the Ivy League-ness of the school, it's the formation that we got from those schools and the habits, the winning habits that we still have in us today.
Right.
That 4 o'clock morning, you guys was 5 o'clock, that 4 o'clock for us to go and say the rosary, go down to church. Whew, I can't tell you how many times I worked punishment for that.
I know. You see, but you see that part you're talking about the rosary and that religious foundation. That the Bible says you train up a child. You see, some of the songs we learned there, we sang them for the melody. We had
Right.
tenor, you had bass, you had alto and soprano. Oh, and we would sing. Sika is known for singing. We would sing.
Yeah.
But at that age, there's not too much you can understand from the lyrics of those words because what
Yes.
trouble have you really seen? It takes coming now and losing a spouse, losing a child, losing a job, having health difficulties for the lyrics of those words to come back to you and mean a lot because they're embedded right there. Things happen and you say, my goodness, you have no answer for them. And then you remember there's a song, we'll talk it over in the by and by because you don't get it. You're just trusting God. It's that was built in you from the foundation. And that is something that I'm hoping that when those of us that come and have busy lives out here in this country, we are missing some of that stuff, which kind of our parents could kind of rely on the mission schools to help us do. You carry the kid to Sunday school and they'll help them, you do that. Or just auntie, uncle, because we're just so much in each other's lives, the lessons could be learned that way. Here, we don't quite have those things, those structures. And some of us are not realizing as we raise our kids that you have to fill in that gap, do it, and try to instill in them while they are still moldable, while they are still able to listen to you. That, because sometimes we are all about, we need to make that money, we need to make the paycheck. And sometimes you really do have to do all of that just to put food on the table. That I get. But I cannot overemphasize, if you do trying to make the time to reach those kids when they are still influenceable,
Yes.
likely to listen to you. Because the time came when, you know what my life is like. Husband works out of the country. He's gone most of the time. So I'm here with the kids and everything. If you had not, there's a time when, okay, everybody was out, but for my son, look at him, huge guy. At the time, we're here in the house, just the two of us. If it's a matter of sheer brute strength, he could pound me to a pulp if he wanted.
Yes, yes.
But he didn't dare even remotely think about doing a thing like that because you've taught him already when they're young. That's a no, you don't do that. So even a curfew, I never had a curfew for them. They just knew, no, you shouldn't be out beyond a certain time. If you're going to happen to be out for some reason, just let me know where you are. Give me an idea of when you'll be back, and then you can just go really pretty much be your own person. But those are those ground rules that you lay at the beginning, and they don't just happen because kids, you know them, you have some. They push the boundary, they push. And if you just are the kind of parent that says, not that you should really be the kind of strict, no, but then they need to know that you still need to be the kind of person who can give them a look.
Yes.
Maybe not. I shouldn't be thinking about this kind of thing. I laugh now when I hear them. I see them, they're watching TV. Somebody does something, some kid does something, and they talk to each other and say, my goodness, why didn't they have our mother? They won't have lived past that thing that they just did.
True.
You see, so that now they are complete adults. They can do what they do. They know there's absolutely nothing I can do to stop them from doing anything that they would like to do. But they're not doing it because they already just know what it is that they should be doing and what they should not do. But that's something you have to start doing from the very beginning, and that you cannot really delegate to the teacher, delegate to the Sunday school teacher. They need to know what you think. And if they argue back, roll their eyes, because they do. You just keep, like a broken record, keep saying, keep talking. Some of it is registering.
Yes.
Frustrating. You tell this child, no, this blouse is a little too revealing. They're like, but everybody's wearing the thing, and they see the heads are going. I'm like, that's not going to happen. You see, you stand your ground. It happens as a mother. It happens as a teacher. The kids, they will try it. I've seen some show up at my door, the school classroom, and I'm like, where is the rest of your blouse? And they're like, I went to so and so class. Nobody said anything. I said, but well, I'm saying something.
Exactly.
I walk through that door, and then what does the kid do? They take a sweater from their bag. So they had the sweater there all along. But they tried to see first if you would let them in.
Yes.
Belly button and the little belly button ring. I'm like, no, I'm not having that. But I thought to tell them that before they got there.
That is amazing. Sister Egbe, you've said something that is key, and I want to, there's not enough time to talk to you, Sister Egbe, because I think everyone can see now why I had to start with you and nobody else. So you said something that is pretty important to me. It's like when you told the little girl to where's the rest of her blouse, right? And she pulled out the sweater. There's a thing that says there's many people, and this is not only for the young ones, it's also for the many of us mid-age ones, older people. Many people are looking for a coach. Many people are looking for a person who just makes them understand that they matter, right? And the mere fact that that child had that sweater in her bag or her backpack, she knew that someone who cared about her will call her out on it. And it's funny how it was you who had to call her out on it. That shows your heart. That shows the way you were raised. That shows how much you care about the child. Because you could have done everything that other people did and not care about it. So that's that heart, that nurturing heart that you're looking at, saying, this kid, if she had a parent who knew better or had a relative who knew better, they won't let her come out of the house that way. Let me step into that.
To the parents, sometimes they don't see. Look at when school starts. You see, parents start work at 9. Schools, we are there 7:15. Bell rang, everything's going. Some of them do actually leave home, and the parents haven't set eyes on them. So they are in that bus there with this outfit, which their mother would have a fit if they knew that's what they were wearing. So,
Yep.
so to be fair to them, sometimes they just sneak on out and try to see what it is that they can get to do, and the parents don't have a clue what they are really busy doing. And then guess what? They also get back home before their parents get back from work.
That
So
is critical.
looking like a nun by the time mother walks in, and mother has no clue that's what's going on. I'll just interject to say sometimes it's not that it's the parents' fault. The kids, they'll try. And that's why you have to really be on them, kind of. And one more thing, that in that same perspective, that same line of thought,
Mm-hmm.
kids know the difference between mean, what we call wicked, and straight. They know
True.
the difference. They know where you're coming from with that thing. And finally, they end up coming to be, I've had it year after year after year. I'm doing the scolding, the yelling. I tell them I'd rather yell at you and set you straight than write you up for you to go and mess up your record.
It's
So
so
can I just see you out in the hallway just like 1 minute, talk to you there and read you the riot act out there, and then say, come, go on back in there and behave yourself like you've got some sense, like I know you do. I tell them from day one, the first way you know I just don't even care about you is if I just leave you in a little corner and say, just be doing whatever you're doing. Sleep if you want, yawn if you want, stay on your cell phone all day if you want. That is, for me, the best way to show you don't really care about the person. If I cared, then I should say, get off your cell phone because what we're doing here is important. Then I would say, maybe you don't want to quite, is this the image you really want to put out there? Where you come in and the guys are going, dang, is that really the image you want to do? Sometimes that's all they need, for somebody to just tell them that. Or to simply say, why didn't you just hold the door for the person coming right after you? Why did you let the door? And they're like, oh, my bad, didn't notice. So sometimes it's not even that the kid is bad. Somebody has even pointed out the fact that that's the thing which you could or should be doing. So they just needed somebody to say that. The little things that they tell them from elementary school that they forgot in kindergarten. Say please, say thank you. Like somebody's going, I said, but this girl is carrying all these books and brought a book for you from back there and put it right on your desk in front of you. So then I'm going to go get the book yourself and you're not going to say anything. They'll be like, that's not that serious. I'm like, no, it is. Please just say simple thing, thank you. They're like, well, thank you. Then the next day, that same thing happens and you don't have to tell them again. He says, well, thank you. They've learned the little thing, just the little bits of things that you say or do. And in the end, at the end of the school year, the ones who even come back to come and say, I need to come and say hello to Susan Soup are the ones that you yelled at the most. There was one who came back and the office called my room and said, he's here to see you. There's a student here to see you. And we've told him we don't really quite allow kids to come when the school day is on, but he's really insisting. And I asked for the name and they gave me the name. I'm like, did you search that kid? Did you pass through a metal detector? Because I don't think, because of how much clashing we had done, I was not sure he was coming for a good reason. He says, please, can he come? And he comes, shows up at my door. And I look at this strapping, good-looking kid in a military uniform. I'm like, is this you? He says, yes, ma'am. I said, did you just call me ma'am?
Yeah, yes.
Because it was a thing. But I was on his case. They would say, if you don't do the work, you're not getting the grade. Sit here. I'll sit with you till 5. My home's down the street. So you will stay here, you'll get the work done. And it wasn't even always well done, exactly well done, but it was the effort I was looking to make him give some effort. And the idea that you don't get something for nothing is what I was trying to put across. And he was coming back to say thank you. But I was scared out of my wits because the last memory I have of him was of him slamming the door when he was going off in a huff, not happy with me at all for insisting that he do his work and that I wasn't going to give him a pass grade if he did not get the work done. But
Oh my.
he had learned down the road and was coming back to say, thank you. I'm glad you insisted on me getting things done. Here I am now. I'm in the U.S. Army, and I was so proud of it. I said, "Can I hug you?" Is it okay with your military uniform and everything? He said, "Sure." And I was like, tall fellow right up there, hanging off his neck, and the kids were there watching, going, "Ooh!" And then she yell at you as much as she yells at us. He says, "Oh my goodness, you haven't seen." So but he understood. You see, that's what I'm trying to point out. You understood it wasn't trying to be mean and just wicked. It was like, what is this? Do something.
Sister Egbe, this is exactly what I want the community and the people to see. There's so much wealth in how much you've contributed to this world, and I want to use you as the representative for all those teachers who may have done it for one person or another, because this Marine kid that you're talking about, who's this giant right now, he could crush anybody. They didn't even need the metal detector, because if he wanted to, he could crush them. But we just want to say thank you. This is what I'm talking about. Being able to connect with those people who shape us, who form our thinking, who form the direction in which our lives would go, and just offering you gratitude. There's not much we can give you, but the excellence or the thank yous. I was an avid reader myself. When I was in primary school, I used to perform really, really well. And then when I got to secondary school, obviously new environment, new things, I slacked off in many, many areas. And it showed. It showed in the things that I did. But at some point, to your point exactly, when a teacher cares about you, they actually do what they have to do. They notice the people who have some kind of skill or some kind of talent, and they actually talk to them about it and bring it out. Because I remember me having messed up and failed my A levels and had to go redo the A levels back in Lycée Beleng. And when I got there, I probably was making the same mistake I made when I was back in Casabambali. And one of my teachers, I'm not going to call her name on here today because I hope to bring her on the show later on, because she's also one of the people I consider my coach or life coach or things like that. She looked at my work and she read through it. She thought the work was well done, but I didn't pass the test, whatever it is she gave us. I didn't pass it. But she didn't just grade me and give it to me like she would everybody else. She graded my work and she wrote on the work, she said, "See me after class." So I saw her after class and she told me, "You wrote a very, what you wrote was really great. However, you didn't answer the question that I asked. You need to tweak the way you're thinking. You need to approach it in this manner, and you need to provide me with your own thoughts, opinions. That's what I'm asking for." That changed my entire thinking. That one sentence is what made me pass my exam, because I didn't read. I remember very well the day before the A levels, a friend of mine, I hope she's not looking on here, and I won't call her name either. She and I were over at a concert the night before the A levels was coming up, and we went to a Sikui in Yaoundé to eat some chicken, free chicken from somebody. But anyway, I was able to pass my A levels in all the papers that I wrote because of that one tweak that my teacher did. That's how much excellence we have amongst us and that we don't recognize. So I want to say thank you. Segbe, you're getting so many kudos online. Good job from Maureen Simone Gamule. Lizzie says she's so proud of you. Real love right there from Quinta Mancho. And I think I've missed out on many, many comments. Maflo Fomuso says she's so proud of you. The comments are blowing off, and I don't think we can get through these comments. But I want to touch on one. It's not sad, but it's going to be eliminating later on, and then another fun stuff before we go. We can call it a day. You were four when you guys as siblings. You were four of you, and you lost your brother due to tragic circumstances. I would like for you to tell us a little bit about that experience and what it led to, and how open minds would, as a teacher, you teach a kid about open mind. Open minds. Someone said I'm a rascal, so that's why I'm laughing. So how teaching kids to be themselves and be their best, and how that your brother's passing actually led to one of the most beautiful things in your life as well, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked. Yeah, just mentioning that, and I'm tearing up behind my glass. But it took us even 30 years to actually go and do a memorial service for him, because we just were in denial. Not denial because we knew it happened, but we just didn't want to go there. It was, a very traumatic experience. People who know him can tell you that was just a larger than life person who had taught himself how many languages. He could speak German, he could speak Italian, he could draw, he could write, he could, a lot of the things people are trying to compliment me for now, that's what he just came to this planet doing so easily. My love for music, my love for soccer, that came from him. And so for him to pass away that tragically, and I pretty much was the last in the house to see him, because that was New Year's Eve. And then New Year's Day, he was gone, just gone. My own reaction was that's when I've even learned about understanding that people even grieve differently. You know, we used to hear stories about how they used to just slap some kids up on their heads, or not that if Papa don't die, no, they even cry. You don't know what the kid is going on, what's going on in his heart, and so how shocked and stunned, because I was unable to cry. It took me a while. We went to Hospital Central there, and there he was. My mother just sat there and held his hand and was not saying a word. Sorry, Sister Bobet, I'm going to talk. Running cartwheels. She was somersaulting, like they say it in that picture.
Yes.
Madam, she wouldn't have it. She was just rolling everywhere. See, that was her own way of expressing her grief. I was just stunned, shocked, but immediately, for some reason, sprung into, what do we do now? There's the somersaulting, because Didi was already in Manfi. She was heading back to Bambili. She wasn't there. It was the two of us that were there. I'm looking at her, the mom who's just in shock, surreal, and the somersaulting older sister there, and saying, I grabbed the person that had brought us and said, we need to call Mr. Chief Egbe, Mr. Folemu. But then good call my auntie and uncle, the Musanges at the time, to come figure out what was going on here. I was one that went home and packed the things that we were supposed to take with us to go to Manfi. I was in a daze. It's when I finally got to Manfi, to Bisangabang itself, and I saw him laid out there, and wow, and began to cry. I remember my late aunt saying, when they come to tell me, Mama left, I'm so kind of a thing. I heard her say to them, let her cry. We've been worried because she hasn't even cried. So they're saying, let her cry, let her get it out of her system. But you see, when that kind of a thing happens to you, how are you not able to see the pain somebody else is going through?
Exactly.
Which is how this whole part of the Seka Pride thing started. I don't want to call her name, but there was just not too long ago, this cigarette girl, I think she's also from Okoyong, and she's lost her husband out there in Canada. She's new to the place. I thought about what I was like when I first got to this country too, how everything was strange and new. It didn't matter how much learning you had done there. When you actually come to a place that is new, it's hard. So I found myself sitting there almost like I need to just trying to reach out through the screen saying, oh, you poor thing, crying along with her, because that's empathy. It's not sympathy anymore. you see where they are coming from. You know the pain they must be feeling because it has happened to you. He was what, 21 at the time. So I don't see somebody losing a son now and think it's and I'm not able to empathize. I know the pain of it. Then when it comes to the mother, because that particular person was buried there in Canada, I thought about the mother of that young, brilliant doctor that is not even getting the opportunity like my mother at least had to hold her son's hand. No, she's just going to have to watch it on Zoom like everybody else. And how do you see that pain? You know, you see people who, you even start to see that my own better self, you know, that kind of thing you say, can you imagine what this other person is going through? For me, I do not know how to not see that.
Right.
I believe it's those kinds of experiences. And then I also have belief in people. People can be, yes, all kinds of people, but I have an inborn belief in the compassion of people because I see it all the time. I get the opportunity. That time my mother was there in Yaoundé, people rallied around her to help her bear that grief, bear that sorrow. So my job now is not to sit down there and I can do whatever it is you can do to help that person along in their grief. Just maybe a phone call, maybe a text. Just these days we have emojis, a little heart, a little pulsing heart. You send to them in the morning and they get up and see it. What it tells them is somebody even thought about me today enough to take the time to even just hit that send button, even if you did not call. And that's how we all survive, leaning on each other. We were meant to be social beings. And I can do that for you, you can do that for me. It encourages them. But to go through this world with blinders on and not noticing what's going on with people, sometimes it can make a difference because I've seen it make a difference for me. Right. Then the little drives I do, I don't have the money to begin to help pay for somebody's treatment, surgery someplace. But if I tell you, which I have done a number of times, do you think you can add your $20 to this, my own 10? You add it, Abong adds her own, Laura adds her own little bit, all my little sisters that are here, and then the other people that we don't even know. That's why I do that thing, because there's, how dare you decide people will not help? They may want to help, but you didn't tell them. If they knew, they would. So maybe if you put it out there, and even only one more person comes and donates, isn't that awesome? It's $5 more than what you yourself had to give. It's $10 more than what you yourself had to give. Sometimes it's a whole $100 or $500 more than what you had to give. And somebody there's life is made better than for us to go buy all of these wreaths and roll on the floor when they're gone.
Absolutely. Sister Egbe.
And help them with their treatment and let them live a better life for as long as God would let them live it. That's, for me, that's just how I see it. It's just like, that's it.
So Sister Egbe, what you just said, this is us. This was my own way of making the world see Black excellence, pun intended. This is exactly what but you put a heart on the excellence, which is the difference that happens in everyone's life. Just the heart. Not only do you educate, not only do you write to please us, not only do you go through your own pains, not only do you fund for all these other activities or initiatives that come your way where someone is lacking in one way or another, but here you are giving us the reason why we should be feel some empathy or compassionate towards people. So Sister Egbe, I just want to let you know that I think I can give myself the right to speak for everybody on here to say, sometimes when you're the person doing the giving, and the giving, you sometimes think we don't understand. You too require support. You too require the love. You too require the recognition. So I want to tell you, the reason you're on here is so I can show the world how much we recognize you, how much we see you, and how much we know you matter, and how critical you are to my life, your kids' lives, your family's lives, your friends, and everyone who's come across you, how much you matter to those people. So as I would love to sit here all day, but I really do recognize we're going a little bit over the stipulated 1 hour that I always have. However, it is so much understood. We've not even breached the topics that we can talk about. There's a whole breadth of things we could talk about, but I don't think we have that much time. However, I want to make sure that I at least see one or two things that are being posted. Philanthropist at heart, that you are called, which is so true. And Sister Didi earlier said, "That's my sis. That's my sis." So
Sister.
you are so admired. You've blown away my comments. You've blown away the comments. I don't even know where to start reading without leaving or omitting some people's own out. So I want to appreciate all of those who are viewing us today. I want to make sure that you understand what the purpose and the mission is for this particular show and this platform. This is to bring to you influencers, global leaders, people who are making a difference makers in our everyday lives, big and small. Every little contribution that someone makes into your life, breathes into your life, matters. And sometimes those people themselves need to be highlighted. If you need a coach, if you need a mentor, if you need someone to tell you ways in which you're struggling based on how you're educating your kids or any issues that you're having, the benefit you have with Sister Egbe is she's lived both worlds, where she can tell you from the experience of an African, tell you from the experience of an African American, in quotes, meaning that you do get some layover issues of things that impact African Americans, even though you may not have gone through all of their experiences. So try to be the helper in your community, try to be the collaborator, try to be the networker. And to reach Sister Egbe, you can reach her out on sikapride.com. She's also on Facebook under Sika Pride, so you can reach her out there. As for me, you can also reach out to me on Bong 4C, the Silverlining with Judith on Facebook, as well as the Silverlining on YouTube. I will publish this and also publish it on YouTube for you. So Sister Egbe, like I said, I don't want to drag much more, but I want to make sure that I give you time to give your thoughts on what you think so far. What are any thoughts, any last thoughts? Because I don't think you can teach us any more than you've taught us today, but there's still more where that came from. Give us some of your last minute thoughts so we know what to take away with us.
First, just thank you. Because if you hadn't dragged me kicking and screaming to do this, I would never have. I would never have. You don't take no for an answer. That is the humbug like Jiga. That's you.
That's me.
You don't take no for an answer. And you didn't finally end up asking. You just said, here's a flyer. I put the flyer out there. I'll call you on so and so time. We'll do a practice so and so thing. Before I could think well enough to say, no, I'm not doing it. There I was trying to do it. So I admire your persistence at things. And even now, at the beginning of this, you made sure that you wanted to do it and you got it. Look at you. You got it done. You got it done. So I'd like to encourage you with what you're doing. It's a good thing you're doing. That is what you're cut out to do, a part of what you're cut out to do. Keep doing it. And then I couldn't see the comments. I want to thank everybody who took the time on a Sunday afternoon. They could be chilling, doing something, enjoy watching TV, who chose to come on out here and hear a little bit of what I had to say. And then I want to also point out that you don't have to have a platform like this one. You don't have to be Oprah Winfrey. You really don't. What it is that you can be to the person that is your neighbor or that is in your own little surrounding there, that's what will be meaningful to them. I think the problem we have, I'm trying to round up, the problem we tend to have sometimes is feeling that only the huge, big things matter. No, we can't all have those platforms, but then what about the person that you can actually encourage who will never come, who's not on Facebook,
Yes.
who's not on WhatsApp, but you are the person that's there in their little milieu, you can do that too. And we don't all have to be, if you're an evangelist person, you don't have to be Billy Graham himself. What about the person who did the sound for him, meaning the person who checked the microphones, or the choir that sang during his retreats? All of them matter, and all of them have come together to make the product that we ended up seeing. True, the one man stood there and preached his heart out. But somebody swept the building to keep it clean. Somebody did the lighting. somebody did the sound check, somebody did the, and all of them are important. They're part of that fabric that made the one person we see. And I say, there was a song we learned about how little is much when God is in it, and don't labor for wealth or fame. If you go out to do what you're doing from your heart, you may get accolades here, you may not. You may get money for it here, you may not. But some of us who believe in somebody who actually watches, his applause is what really matters. Tell yourself it's the bottom line is you have a one-man audience, one being audience. If you go to bed at night and you can kneel by that bed and you and him see eye to eye, you can give you a high five, good. Don't fret the other stuff. Don't let it discourage you from doing what it is that you're doing, because maybe I can't do it as big as so and so. What you're doing has an impact in your own little sphere, in your own little corner. Just do it. That's what I have to say. And just thank you again for having me. I didn't even realize an hour has gone by. I've just been chatting my head off.
I want to leave the hour go, but as you said, I have to be cognizant of people's time. So, Sister Egbe, I cannot thank you enough. I saw someone write they want you back. So it's a date, and I don't think there'll be any kicking and screaming this time around, because you've seen the love. You can't disappoint me anymore, because you'll be disappointing everybody else. So Sister Egbe, thank you will never do, but we want to tell you what you do, we see it. What you say, we hear you. And everything you are, who you represent in all of us, we say thank you, and you too matter. So we thank you. So for everyone who was able to join our call today, I just want to make sure I can thank you all for taking this time out of your busy Sunday of praise to come and listen to Sister Egbe and I chat. We don't get, during this COVID times, just as a reminder of why we have this platform, its name says Silverlining. It was born out of all those difficult times we're having, because it's very crucial that we see all the bright side of life, despite all the things that we're going through. As it's often said in the Bible and in praise, no one said it was going to be easy, but he said he was going to get us through it. Right? So this is getting us through it. We need to make sure we can recognize the beauty of the life we have, recognize our leaders, recognize our influencers, recognize even the people who go through turmoil, to see how they teach us. So teach even the illness that we're going through right now, we have to know that matters, because this was born out of all of this confusion. I am not good at this thing I'm doing. I'm learning as I go, but I'm better because I have supporters like you. And so this is a platform for everyone who needs to be acknowledged, who makes a difference in lives. We need to learn to foster collaboration amongst us. If you're in the healthcare business, if you're in the coaching business, if you're in the business, meaning you need to grow wealth, you can always reach out to me and I can highlight you. I also have some legs of businesses in the health industry. I'm a travel consultant, so I do group travel. I will promote your travel, do your travel bookings for you, partner with anybody you want me to work for you. I'm here. Those are my services that I'll offer. I welcome everyone with similar services. We can partner, we can do business, we can share the business. There's enough business for all of us as a community and as a people to go around. But above all, when you see a teacher, when you see an educator, when you see a writer, when you see someone like Sister Egbe, just tell them thank you. Just say thank you for your service. Like we do for our military people, thank you for their service. We thank you, Sister Egbe, for your service. And we pray that God gives you long life and that your wisdom continue to flow and that you continue to be the coach and the mentor you've been to many of us. I say thank you. And this is Judith saying you need to go out and live your best life. Thank you.
Thank you.